Tan is the CEO and co-founder of FutureLab.my. And he is also the alumni of Next Academy. So Brian, tell us a bit about yourself.
So just an introduction. So I run FutureLab.my. What we do is we connect students, young professionals, and aspiring entrepreneurs to mentors around the world. Just a background on myself, I was management consulting in Accenture. I was doing a lot of digital strategy analytics work. And then I moved to a private equity company called Ethos & Co., which I did business development and identifying companies. And then we got Cradle funding, and then that's when I joined Next Academy, joined the Magic programs, and that's when I launched FutureLab.
That's great. So a bit about your background, right? Did you actually started off with business studies or what?
No. So that's one of the reasons why we built FutureLab. I'm actually a biochemist. So I studied biochemistry in England for around 5 years. I spent a year researching in Oxford, and my career path at that point was to continue my PhD and become a Dr. Brian Tan at 27. But to me, it didn't really make sense. It wasn't something that I was passionate about. So that's why I wanted to come back to Malaysia and kind of try to do something different, which is management consulting. So that's also one of the reasons why, switching from your degree to a career that you actually want was one of the reasons why we built FutureLab.
How did you first came up with the idea itself, like the FutureLab idea?
Yeah, so the idea came about when I always wanted to come back to Malaysia. I always felt like people always complain about the country, but then if you're good enough, you should come here and fix it. To me, that was always part of my plan to come back and do what I can for my country. So when I first came back, my CV was pretty good, so basically almost every company I applied to, I would get an interview. So this obviously makes you a bit more arrogant. So I applied to one of the top strategy companies in Malaysia. I submitted an application. They asked me to come for an interview that night itself. So I thought these guys really want me, right? So I was like, I wasn't prepared for it. So I told them, hey, let's go meet next week. I showed up thinking that I kind of had the job in the bag, got my ass kicked. It was terrible. It was a terrible interview. So it's all about the case studies. If you apply to management consulting, you realize that you have to do many case studies, like 3 rounds of 2 each. So at least 6 case studies before you meet the partner.
Yep.
So you need to practice a lot before you even go to this. So they told me, obviously I didn't get it. You can't apply for this company for 2 years. And I was like, oh, that's how it works? So then I obviously stopped my applications. I tried to practice case studies. Ended up in Lawyat Forum because my parents got bored of me, my friends got bored of me, like practicing case studies with them. So I ended up in this Lawyat Forum. And if you go to anyone knows Lawyat Forum, there's like tons of like career threads, right? So ended up finding a career thread where they're looking for case study partners. Met up with a random person named Bone Dragon. I didn't really know whether it was a guy or a girl, but I assumed that they wouldn't be bigger than me and they couldn't really kidnap me. So I met them in Bangsa Village. Found out this guy was similar story like me, came back from UCL, applied to consulting, didn't get it, realized he had to do case studies, and then we just met. But the problem with that was both of us are crap. So like we both don't know how to do case studies, right? So it's like a blind man teaching a blind man, which is okay. I mean, I got a job in the end, but in my head it was like, it would be so much easier if I could speak to someone in the company I wanted to apply to, and they could actually help me. So that's one of the reasons why the idea started. But I also have 2 other co-founders, Feng Wei, which is also a Next Academy alumni, the CTO of GoGet, and Clarissa, which now she is the regional manager for Grab.
Wow.
The CSR, the social enterprise division anyways.
Nice.
So 3 of us, we have our own stories, like coming back, trying to find our first job, and like finding it very difficult. And also when we entered the company, we realized people really hate their jobs.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no real passion in why they're there.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's because their parents told them to be an accountant, or their parents told them to become an engineer.
Yeah,
and then they realized, and they paid so much for it, right? It's like a 4-year course, like 40 to 80,000 ringgit, and their parents paid for it. So you feel bad, so you should go. And then you realize you hate it. None of that, they're not passionate about the work.
I totally understand that. And the hard part I find is that a lot of people had no one to really reach out to actually talk about these things, to actually talk about the careers and what are the potential career paths. In fact, you're kind of like just being thrown into something like this without knowing anything, and suddenly it's such a big commitment out of the sudden. Yeah, it's just crazy. Just tell us a little bit about, Future Labs, right? How did you first run your first MVP?
I don't know if people know, I met Audrey before Next Academy. So we went to Genovasi, which is a design thinking course. So that time, we were already working at FutureLab, but this is us sitting in a mamak every Tuesday, smoking shisha, talking about ideas, right? But eventually, what I wanted to do was, build up the skills. So I went to Genovasi, then we learned about design thinking and testing an idea before spending any money on it. So what we did was, I was already a consultant. I have consultant friends. I just created a Google form, posted on Lawyat forum that I used to go. So actually, if you go to Lawyat, just find FutureLab, Lawyat, you will find all my posts in Lawyat. We were quite spammy, so they kicked us out eventually. But yeah, people showed up, which was really, really interesting. So we just picked a coffee shop in Publica, which closed down already. It's called The Library. Bought 5 coffees for the mentors, and they just sat there and just spoke. The problem with it was that too many people signed up that we got a bit scared because there's 20 random people from Lawyat. So we had no idea what kind of people there would be. There could be some weird people, right? So they came and found out they were students, young professionals that wanted to get into management consulting. And the mentors had a great time chatting to them.
Okay.
And coming from a biochemist background, I believe in repeatable results. So we spent a whole year just doing this thing, every once a month, try different industries and everything just to test whether it would work. And that's also part of how we raise creative funding. So all that data, we use it and compile it hey, look, we've tested it, it works, can you give us money to build a platform?
That's great. So, when you're bringing tech element into your idea, how do you see, the tech, element of it actually help you push your idea to, larger, higher heights?
After we got creative funding, I left my job. Then that's when I enrolled in Next Academy. But obviously we didn't want to waste time, so we hired another of your Next Academy alumni. So they built it for us, and I came here, so I was learning how to code, as well as scouting out for developers to join my team. And then, we launched FutureLab, and what happened when we had a platform, it just helped us scale faster. We started off with 40 mentors, which were our own networks, and the people that joined in our MVP. So they came on board, and we were having at least 30 sessions a month.
Wow.
But what was interesting here is that when you have a online platform, you get a lot of different nationalities. So we weren't only just getting sessions from Malaysia, we were getting sessions from Malaysians in the UK, US, Australia, Hong Kong, that are coming back to the country but have no one to reach out to. So now you can start figuring out all your stuff before you come back. So if you put, in my case study, if I was still in the UK studying, I could already start doing all the research before I even come back. And what is really interesting now is that we have mentors from 12 countries. So even if you're a Malaysian wanting to move to Hong Kong, a different place, now you can kind of connect to people there to figure out how can I actually apply for a job in let's say Hong Kong. Most of them will tell you probably need some working experience here first until a certain level, and then you can. And you can ask them a lot of questions into how much money do I need to live in Hong Kong, or what is the Australian government looking for. So what we realized that now that you have all these international conversations, and also we have 10 countries that go to use our site a day. So we have 60 nationalities. We have Japanese people on it, Israeli people, French people, and that was really interesting to us because we didn't expect that. But we found out that a lot of Americans use it because they're looking for internships in Southeast Asia.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that they can go to Bali, Thailand.
Makes sense.
It makes sense, right? So they want to do internship here so they can travel in the region for cheap.
So I heard also that for your mentors are, obviously around the world, and a lot of them, you actually went to Silicon Valley and also went there to scout for mentors as well, right? How was it so far? Why do you do that?
So after we got raised creative funding, but we also got into 2 magic programs. The first one was where they flew the Stanford professors into Malaysia to help you build a go-to-market strategy. So that's when you don't have a product yet. So we got into that. So when I was at Next, I had to leave early and join that. And then I came back and joined another batch. So that's when the Stanford professors came here. But after we launched FutureLab in July 2016, we got into the top 25 startups in Malaysia at that time. So they flew us to Silicon Valley for 2 weeks. So that's when we spent 2 weeks in Stanford and we got to meet all the mentors there. But after we came back, we learned a lot as well. And we kind of built a SaaS platform with mentorship. So people really like FutureLab.my, but they started asking us like, hey, I kind of want to use it for my own organization.
Yeah.
Can we use it? But it wasn't built like that. So having that design thinking MVP style brain, right? So we built it in like 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, we had 19 CEOs on it. So we had the Talent Corp CEO on it, Maybank CEO, Media Prima CEO on it. But obviously we built it in 2 weeks, so it was shit. So they gave us a whole bunch of complaints. At the same time, we worked with Monash as well for another mentoring program. Since we were getting whacked by one set of mentors, might as well get whacked by another set to collect as much feedback, right? Because at the end of the day, we promised that we will make it better. I mean, that is, we want it to be awesome, right? So we compiled all the feedback, we fixed it, and then Magic came. So now Magic uses FutureLab for their own training program. So this was the first proper year. So in the last 4 months for the Global Accelerator program, they did over 1,300 sessions in 4 months.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
It's awesome.
So I think like FutureLab is amazing, right? You've actually helped people connect, for them to know more about the industry, for them to know more about the opportunities and the expertise that they have and the insights they can get out of the kind of things that they have done so far, right? And I think it's great that, you know, people probably still in uni get the chance to actually speak to a CEO of sorts and to know what this CEO are thinking and how they could eventually reach that level when they go down on their career path.
Yeah, just to add on that as well, also what we find is that a lot of young working professionals use it because they are trying to upskill.
Yes.
So actually a few of my mentees now went to Next Academy because they also are interested in like upskilling themselves, right? So because of that, we partnered with an Australian company. So now we're offering 1,500 online courses as well. Because when you're working, you don't have the time to do a full course, right? Exactly, but you can do all these micro courses. Yeah. That's like last time I met you at Genovasi, that's when I was, we did for course after work, right? Yeah. But that is also not many people are willing to do that. But a lot of people are willing to do like UI UX, digital marketing online, you know, like things that can really help them take themselves up to the next level. Yeah. Which we did not expect, but we do find that people are starting to use that as well.
Yeah, that's good. I think back in those days when I first transitioned from university to the workplace, my senior told me that it's like, hey Audrey, everything you study now is just for the sake of passing your exams, but 80% of the stuff that you learn here, it's not going to be, applicable in your work life, and you need to learn on the job. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to fix, right? Because that just doesn't make sense to me. I think now universities are becoming a money-making machine, so they make you pay a lot of money so that they give you a piece of paper. But they're forgetting the true reason is to help you find a job or help you with your career and your life. Yeah. Right. So we find that again, it might not be their fault because they can't change the syllabus fast enough. The world's technology is just ridiculous, right? Yeah, exactly. So what we believe is there should be a feedback loop into like what industry are you trying to get into or what company, and they can tell you, look, we're looking for digital marketing skills now. We're looking for Ruby on Rails. We're looking for, we need developers. Yeah. So that way you can be, if I want to work for this guy, I need to do this. Yeah. And that way you naturally more motivated. Yeah. Because I think like there's some courses you go into and you're like, why the hell am I here? Like, why do I need to do this module? But they'd be like, you need it because you need to get this degree. Yeah. But if you actually could see what you're working towards, that's just, that's just really good for motivation.
Okay, and any advice on how, this young people today can actually upskill themselves?
I think young people, they first need to try to think about, what do they want to do in terms of like, what do they enjoy doing? Yep. Like, are they very creative? They love creating stuff, or do they like doing all the numbers, data crunching? And I think people just need to kind of discover a bit more about themselves and ask people, right? Because sometimes you say, okay, I want to be an engineer. Go speak to an engineer. Ask them like, what do you do? Yeah. This is what I like. I do want to be an engineer. And the engineer most of the time can tell you a bit more about, what it takes to be an engineer, like what's his life like. Or then it's like, okay, I want to try digital marketing, or like I want to be a videographer. Then just ask, right? I want to work for a game studio. Like, hey, dude, what do you study? Like, do you love your job? You know, like what is it? And I think it's just curiosity, because I think a lot of youth nowadays just think that if they have good grades, they'll get into the best company, and that company might not be right for them, because you have that perception that everyone wants to work for Petronas, everyone wants to work for McKinsey, but is it really right for you? You know? And in Asia, it's always like, you know, doctor, engineer, lawyer, accountant. It's just typical jobs, but honestly, if you ask yourself, the reasons why you took it is because your parents told you, or your uncle and auntie is one of them. That's it, right?
I know.
But is it really you? So I feel that in terms of like Asians, as long as once you can start being individual and like say like, what do I really like? Because there's so many interesting companies now, there's so many startups. There are really interesting projects that you can work for, like can be paid equally as amount as the, you know, consulting companies, but you don't work as long, you know, and you actually enjoy what you do. So there's definitely opportunities like that. But if you don't ask yourself these kind of questions, then you just become very mediocre in your career. Very true. Very average, which I don't think people should strive for.
So the first thing is that they really need to ask themselves what they are passionate about and what they would really like, instead of being influenced by you know, other voices and other noises, right?
And also sometimes you just need to do an internship, right? Because I think finding out what you don't like is probably as good as finding out what you like. So you can cross it off the list, like, you know, to clear your brain. So I think a lot of students sometimes get very scared to start something. Like, they think too much about joining like a coding course. And it's like, why? Just try it, you know, see whether it's always beneficial to you anyways.
Just try it first. Don't need to think too much sometimes, but when you try it, definitely put in effort, right? Don't just halfway through and go like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, but definitely you need to put in effort. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience here at Next? I mean, we are really happy to have you as an alumni. So what have you actually gotten out of this whole experience at Next?
To be honest, like I was a gigantic noob when I joined Next. I did a lot of digital strategy for Accenture and stuff, but we always had a tech team that did all the technical work. We just need to look at the data, come up with like what we should build. And I always felt that there was always a disconnect between the business team and any tech team. Like any company you look into, there's always the tech team is like, the business guys don't get me. Then the business guys are like, yeah, the nerds don't, you know, they're socially awkward and stuff. So when it came to Next, one of the first things we found is that everyone here had a different kind of background. So like, you know, I had friends that started their own restaurants, people that are bankers that trying to do a career change. And what I really liked about it was that, I mean, everyone was really friendly, and then we could help each other. And I know that we had some issues in terms of like some concepts were hard to learn, but what was good is that, you know, we kind of brought it out, and then you guys helped us with that. And now that my friends are also at Next, like it has changed a lot since I've been here. So I know that you guys have been improving the course over and over and over every batch. So that's really good. But for me, like, I mean, we hired a lot of developers from Next. I always ask you for developers and stuff. So obviously I do rate Next very highly. I also think that it's a hard skill to pick up, but it's a very valuable skill to pick up. Because for me, I don't code now because I just don't have the time or the practice, right? But what really helps me as a tech founder is that I can actually speak to my tech team. Or like even if I want to build a new feature, I kind of know how to build the logic. Like I can literally think of the logic because I also know like all the other logic pieces in place in my platform. But I might not code it out because that is like this language, right? That's a syntax, right? But in terms of like, I know we have this database, I know what data we have here, I know that I want to collect this and how to collect it, and it's very easy to build. So like I can literally create my own MVPs and tell my team what MVPs to build, and it's actually very easy to do it. Then once it works, then we can build it into a full-fledged feature, you know. But it really helps me in terms of like communicating with my team and like just thinking how I could test this the quickest way with our platform. Instead of like asking someone and then they don't have a design thinking mindset, so they build a full feature which takes too long. Whereas you can just put a Google form there, collect this data, check with that, and then it works.
That's great. Okay, I know that you've been saying that you are always constantly looking for good hires, right? Maybe you could share with us, you know, who are you looking for? Who do you want to join your team?
I believe in continuous learning. Recently, like since we just closed another round of Cradle, we are expanding our team. So I've been really looking into how to hire a winning team, right? So what I find is not really just the technical skill that's important, because everyone here can code, right? It's like, do they really enjoy working on what we are building? I think that's the difference, right? Because as a developer, yes, you need to build your skill sets, but you'll be way better if you find something that you're interested in. Because there's no point just learning how to code on something that is coding. You might as well find someone that, oh shit, this is awesome. Like I want to build this, right? And then that way you're more inspired to come up with like interesting ideas, to learn new languages as well. So now what we really look for is the technical skill is great. You know, you need to have some sort of basic understanding, of course. Right? But a really good phrase is hire for will, not for skill.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I really like that. So the people now I look for is people that are really like they're excited to work for FutureLab.
Yeah.
Like they like the idea of like knowledge sharing, helping other people, and scaling it because I have very big plans, right? So we just don't take people that are really good technically because they'll leave like sooner or later.
Exactly.
Someone comes with a bigger paycheck here, they'll ciao, right? And in a startup that can be fatal. But if you can find someone that just loves your product, loves the culture, loves the team, and they might not be that great, but I'm pretty sure by the time they leave FutureLab or whenever, they'll be damn good.
I think the way you phrase it is exactly what it is, right? The most powerful combination is where you love to code, that's one thing, but you have passion as well. And when both of the two things come together, you get to innovate into to a different level. Because many times people always see coding as a standalone thing, but they forget a lot of other elements to it. Why do you code? Is it because you just want to code for the sake of getting a paycheck, or because you really want to build something extraordinary?
Yeah, and that's really exciting, right? I feel like everyone should find that thing that makes you excited to work.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. And glad to have you with us.